minutes. What happened there?
Let's take a deeper look.
So last year in Parashat Shmini, we discussed the big tragedy that happened on this day, on the Yom HaShmini, the day where the celebration around the Mishkan happened, where they inaugurated the Mishkan for the first time. Aaron and his sons were all working for the first time in the Mishkan, and fire came down from the sky and killed Nadav and Avihu. We discussed Aaron's response to that, what Moshe said, Bikuvaya Kadesh. We'll link that video at the end of this one. But more than that, this year, I want to take a zoom out and talk about what exactly did Nadav and Avihu do. Because you look at the Psukim, it says they brought an Esh Zara. They brought something that they were not commanded about. However, when you look at Rashi brings a few opinions from a big machloket in the Midrash, what exactly they did. There are a lot of opinions in the Midrash. Rashi brings two, either because they decided to conclude the halacha, to make an actual halacha without even asking Moshe, the rabbi who was right there, or because they were actually serving a little bit drunk, they had a little bit of wine beforehand. And again, there's other explanations in the Midrash for what exactly they did. So why is Rashi bringing different reasons? Why are there so many reasons in the Midrash, so many explanations to what they did if it says in the pasuk? I can understand that we have other explanations when we don't have a reason in the pasuk, but there is a reason in the pasuk, so why not stick with it? Why bring all these different reasons, all these different stories behind it? What actually happened there with Nadav and Avihu in this week's parasha?
It's very interesting. Some joke about this, that we say Nadav and Avihu are such tzaddikim, but when you look at the Mefarshim, you find so many bad things that they did, because everyone tries to give their own reasoning to what they did wrong. They end up with being the most evil of all. But I think really at the essence of this is that understanding that Nadav and Avihu weren't bad. So the pasuk says technically what they did wrong. They brought Esh Zara, but why would they do that? What was the source of the problem? And I think that's what the Mefarshim are trying to understand. Technically, what the sin was, it's clear. They brought a certain fire that they weren't told, but this seems like one little detail. What was actually wrong with what they were doing? Where did this start from? And therefore, when we look at what the Mefarshim are saying, I don't think we should look at this as another detail. Oh, the detail was what they came in drunk, because that's again another detail. It's obviously saying something more than that. Them being drunk is part of the essence of what was wrong here. It wasn't just some detail. The detail was the fact that they brought the wrong fire, but it's coming from something deeper, something broader, which obviously was a critical issue, maybe especially on this first day of the Mishkan. And I think this connects to a very important basic concept about godliness and about how Judaism sees godliness. Many times people look at Judaism and they say, you guys are so caught up in so many details, and what does it matter? God really cares if you did the third cup and you made your tea this way or you did it that way. What does it matter? God created the world. We believe in God, but all these details you guys are caught up in, what's that all about? And really that understanding of, God is above all those small little things. We see sometimes people who get caught up in details as, you're being childish. What are you getting caught up in those details? Someone serious doesn't care about the details. But maybe the Torah is teaching us here something so important, because Judaism doesn't see godliness that way. And the reason is that if you see godliness as only in the big things, then you don't see God in this world, because our world is a world of details. Everything goes around details. You can't say, okay, I'm going to build, the most advanced technology. I'll build the greatest computer. Just one little line here I'll leave out, one little chip. What does it matter? It's just one little piece, just one little wire the size of nothing. Who cares? Everything else is there. And as we know, it's just not going to work. And this is true not only in technology, it's true in everything. I'll build a structure and, I'll bring an architect who says, you know what, let's just move that little piece there. The whole structure will collapse. Even when people talk to each other, and we see this if we're texting one another, if you by mistake just forgot one comma or one period, your sentence can mean something entirely different. You suddenly get into a fight with someone when you didn't even mean to. Everything in our world is about the details. Everything, every big idea, at the end, if it stays a big idea, it doesn't come here. It doesn't impact the world. The real things in this world always go from being a big idea, but being able to go down into those small details. And maybe that's what's happening here. Both these answers, and I think this is true about some of the other answers as well, they came in, they were drunk. What does being drunk mean? What does that have to do with anything? Because when someone's drunk, what happens is they often don't see the details. It doesn't matter. They had the right intention. They were full with love for HaKadosh Baruch Hu. That's all that matters. They came in, so they brought the the fire, they were confused if it's this or if it's that, or even the other explanation, that they came and they said halacha, they did the right thing. Yeah, but Moshe Rabbeinu's there, they should have asked. What does it matter? What does it matter? You're getting caught up in the details. You're getting caught up in how it was done exactly and in what order, and that's childish. What does it matter? What matters is what they wanted and their intentions and their love, and that's all that matters, and everything's beautiful. And no, that's not how it works. The Mishkan was all about bringing godliness into this world, not leaving it up there, not leaving it just in the big ideas. And in this first day of the Mishkan, in this first moment of the greatest connection between heaven and earth, this is the moment where it has to be so clear. Maybe the opposite of the famous line, the devil's in the details. What we're saying here, it's not only the problems, it's not only that, godliness is in the details. Bringing something into this world, really being connected truly to godliness, bringing godliness and bringing any big thing and big idea and big ideology into this world is about going down to the details. And when those details are lost and when we think it doesn't really matter, it's all really the same, very quick, those great ideas and those great ideologies will fade away and will be replaced with something else. If we really want to connect to something big, and if we really want to bring godliness into this world, it's about the details. It's about noticing every single detail, and not only making sure I'm in the right direction, but making sure that every detail is in the right place, and I'm able to express this big right direction in every single aspect of my life and careful about every single detail. That's how I make this not just another thing, but actually what drives life itself.
Beautiful, very true what you're saying. Really, God is in the details. That's what we believe in Yiddishkeit. And today, nowadays, it's a lot easier to understand, like you were saying with computers. You can go through hours and hours of debugging to find the smallest bug that it was just a little tiny dot which was misplaced in the right place. And that little tiny dot, that little tiny detail is what stopped everything from working, and you spent hours on finding it. And really, as you were saying, that's what godliness is about the details. And again, not only that God is only in the details, of course, God is in everything. It's also about the great things, because this is exactly what's happening here. This is a great celebration, a great event, a great day for the Jewish people, building the Mishkan, the house for Hashem, this great, incredible moment of bringing godliness into this world. And in that point of time, Nadav and Avihu had to die because of the small details, like you're saying, because it's about everything. It's about the great things and also about the smaller things. And there's a very famous story in the Gemara about Rabbi Hanania ben Tardion, who was one of the bigger tzaddikim at the time, and he goes to visit Rabbi Yossi ben Kisma, his rabbi, and he asks his rabbi, what is he le'olam haba? Does he deserve olam haba? And this is right after a story that we're told that Rabbi Hanania ben Tardion was teaching Torah in public in the time of the Romans when they didn't let it. And Rabbi Yossi ben Kisma was telling him, what are you doing? How are you endangering yourself in such a way? The Romans are currently in control, and you can see how they have siyata dishmaya. You shouldn't mess around with them. You shouldn't be endangering yourself so in public. And after understanding that this is who Rabbi Hanania ben Tardion is, the person who is not afraid to risk his life and to stand up in front of danger just for Torah and to teaching Torah to the rest of Am Yisrael. Right after this, we get to the story that Rabbi Hanania ben Tardion asks him, do I deserve olam haba? And it's kind of a funny question to ask, because we just saw who he was and how he does these great things. And then when he answers Rabbi Yossi ben Kisma, he says, one time I had money I set aside for myself for my Purim stuff, but it got mixed up with money that I collected for tzedakah, and I just gave everything to tzedakah. Even though I knew exactly how much I had, I didn't start playing around and messing around and taking from here, from this wallet into my own wallet. I just gave everything to tzedakah just to make sure that I'm clean with that mitzvah. And his rabbi answers him and says to him, okay, based on this story, you will get olam haba. And you can see from this story how even though he did these great things, he stood up in front of danger, risks his life for the Torah. That's not what got him olam haba. What got him olam haba was that, but also the caring about the smallest details, the smallest mitzvahs, the mitzvahs that you do when nobody else sees, the day-to-day mitzvahs you do with yourself. Those details are important, together with the big moments where your belief in the Torah and Hashem is shown. These things together, this is what brings to olam haba. But again, like we're saying and like we're emphasizing in this video, it's about the details, about the day-to-day life. There's also a very famous clip from Milan Gold, a very funny clip about a Christmas tree. What would have happened if Jews had to have such a tree? The different details we would do about the lights going on a tree and how you would bring the tree into the house. It's a very, very funny clip, but this is exactly the point. This is exactly why halacha has so many details to it, because as we were saying, it's about these small details, building these small details, connecting them one after each other. This is what allows us to get to these situations in which Rabbi Hanina ben Tadion was so proud of his Yiddishkeit that he taught Torah in front of danger and risked his life in public like that. That's what Yiddishkeit is really about. This is how you get to those levels. And also, it's worth mentioning the very important Rambam that we mentioned in the past also. There's a very famous Gemara that we say many times just before davening, after Shurim. Rabbi Hanania ben Akashya, Ratzah HaKadosh Baruch Hu lezakot Yisrael. HaKadosh Baruch Hu wanted to grant Am Yisrael as many mitzvahs as possible in order to benefit with them, in order to give us good. But obviously, there's always the big question about it. What do you mean? The more mitzvahs we have, the more averos we can do. So how exactly is this helping? But the Rambam has a great answer for this. And what the Rambam says is, the reason HaKadosh Baruch Hu gave us so many mitzvahs is so that throughout our entire lifetime, we can keep at least one mitzvah the way we're supposed to keep it. That's why there's so many details. Of course, it's very hard to keep all the details and to do everything, but we have so many details so that we can try to put together as many details as we can, as many blocks as we can, to have the strongest building we can build. This is how you build a high-standing building, a lasting building, a building that's meant for greatness, that's meant for godliness. And really also, we can't not mention Reb Chaim Kanievsky Zecher Tzadik Livracha that was nifter last week, where there are so many stories going around about his gadlus, about what an incredible human being he was and how much he knew and how much he did. But really, when you go back, when you dive deep into the root to all these stories, it's about his dedication, his paying attention to details, whether it's time, whether it's what he's learning, whether it's what he's eating, whether it's what he's doing with his life. It all starts with there from the very young age. That's what got him to where he is. That's what gave him the ability to get to that gdula, to get to that greatness in Torah, in halacha, in Am Yisrael, and get to where he was. And just to mention one incredible story that I read this week, that I saw this week, where there was a time that Reb Chaim would give over a shiur in Yerushalmi, in Masechet Chulin, I think it was, and obviously it's a very hard Masechet, hard Gemara to give over, to explain, but it was Reb Chaim. And when they finished the Masechet, the people, the tzibur around him wanted to continue learning, but Reb Chaim said he had to stop. So one of the people asked him, why can't we continue the shiur? So Reb Chaim says, it takes me too long to prepare the shiur. So the guy asked him, how long does it take you to prepare? So he says 5 minutes, just to show how particular Reb Chaim was with this time, again, with the details, with the little things, because that's how you get to greatness. And going back to our Parsha, maybe this is exactly what's going on over here with Nadav and Avihu on this day, in this celebration, in this great, huge event, the importance of this big event and seeing godliness in this world through these big things. But it's also about the details, never missing and never overlooking the little details that got us to these big events, because this together is what gets us closer to godliness and helps us live the holier life that we want to live.
We're just between Purim and Pesach. We're all starting to feel it, preparing for Pesach, starting to clean the house. And Purim is the Chag where we did get drunk. Shtuyei yain nichnasu, like Nadav and Avihu, we got drunk. Suddenly it was a good thing to get drunk. And maybe what we're learning here is exactly fit for this time. When we get drunk, what's special about it is sometimes that we don't get caught up in the details. We're able to focus in the essence of things. We sometimes let go of certain disagreements between people, between things, and we focus on the essence, on our love for HaKadosh Baruch Hu, on us being Jewish and everything that stands behind that. But just as we come out of Purim, we go right into preparing to Pesach. And Pesach is all about the details. It's all about cleaning and going into every single crack and getting that light as we do in B'dikat Chametz, making sure you reach every single crack. So on Purim, we let go a little bit of those details to connect to the root of things. But what do we do once we get there? We go back out and we go into every single crack and we make sure that we don't just leave it there. We don't just stay there. We take that energy, we take that connection, and we bring it now into every single detail as we do in Pesach. Only when these two come together can we have a Mishkan. Only when these two come together can we truly bring godliness into this world.
Beautiful, beautiful. Yes, we're getting closer to Pesach. We got to start preparing, really taking care of those details. But we're out of time, so we'll end here. As usual, if you've enjoyed this video, please feel free to like it, comment below on the video, and of course, if you haven't yet subscribed, please subscribe to our channel. Help us grow this and spread the Torah around. We'll link last year's video right now. And Yitzi, next week, same time. Shkoyach.
Shkoyach, Tuvia, Shabbat Shalom.
Shabbat Shalom, special Shabbos, Shabbos Mevorchim, and we'll talk again next week. For more Talking Torah videos on different topics, check out our YouTube channel.